Hello and welcome to Coronacrisis. My name's David Haythornthwaite and I'm the chairman of AFC Fylde. And over the next few weeks and months, I'm hopefully going to take you through what goes on behind the scenes of a non-league football team at times like this. We're going to discuss all the issues regarding behind the scenes, the players, off-field staff, all the things that contribute to the running of the club, and how we're dealing with the issues that are being thrown at us on a daily and weekly basis, so that it gives you a really good insight to the club and the running of clubs in general. So I look forward to you joining me on this journey.
David, thanks once again for joining us as we look behind the scenes at AFC Fylde. In this section, we'd like to ask you about some EFL news that's come out, which could also affect our side of things. And we understand that you've been discussing in our league with some other chairmen that we'd like to go through. So to start things off, just what is the news from the EFL at the minute, and what are your feelings on that?
Yeah, I think, I don't know how, I'm sure that anybody that's interested in football, associated with football at the moment is sort of watching the news like I am. I pretty much follow most things on Sky News, Sky Sports News, every day really, to try and get an update. Obviously things are moving forward. We've seen a return, haven't we, of the Premier League are back in training, distance training. We saw the Bundesliga kick off last week. There's still obviously a little bit of dissension in there, and a little bit of maybe anxiety. We've got people like Troy Deeney, the Watford captain, and there's just a sort of this BAME, section of concern, because obviously they've been more affected by coronavirus than shall we say, the average man in the street. So they're obviously concerned for their families, and I can understand that. But I think that it's fair to say, I think Gary Neville put it the other night, the train's moving, and you're either on it or you're on it, but it's not going to stop now. So I think that's probably right, and I think that we will start to see football at the Premier League, and just to remind everybody, the cost involved with that is huge. 4 million in testing everybody and everybody associated with it, and I'm sure that they're going to do it in a safe way. But I think, as I mentioned last time, it's a drop in the ocean compared to the 700 million that they don't get if they don't complete the season. So no doubt we'll see it, unless there's a serious breakdown, which everybody hopes, of course. There isn't a serious breakdown. We don't want to see that. But I think we've got to be careful, because we could see that, and if that happens, or if that happens anywhere in the country, we go a step backwards, don't we? So I think it's got to be treated with great caution. So we now, I suppose, then drop down to the Championship. I can't kind of see, the Championship are talking about going back into training, but doesn't seem to be just that same appetite for it, even though it's part of the EFL. And so the EFL have had their meetings. I think what the EFL have said quite clearly is that they want to try and, I think the word that Rick Parry used was try and keep the integrity of the pyramid by maintaining promotion and relegation. That wouldn't sit well with a lot of people. And it was pretty much based on purely non-weighted points per game. So obviously some people that are in the promotion places now would drop out of promotion places, such as Peterborough. I know that other teams would jump in. I forgot who it was who took Peterborough's place, but I know Peterborough wouldn't make it on that basis. At the bottom, of course, Mark Pallias, Tranmere chairman, is very angry, because a little bit like us, they'd won 3 straight. They felt 9-10 games to go, they could get out of the mess, and he's pretty aggrieved. As I'll come to later, ultimately somebody will be hurt, and somebody will be aggrieved, and we'll never get a plan. I think that everybody's going to be happy with it. It's an impossibility. So that's, I think, in the league, the League Two, as we knew, and I think we talked about this. I tried to protect them, their members, by saying that they didn't want Stevenage to be relegated. I think that's kind of been overruled now by the new, shall we say, proposal. But importantly, the proposal is going to be put back to the clubs by division, and clearly it has to be democratically decided by a majority of 51%. So again, I think that's something that our league should take a lead from when they come to making those decisions and giving us the options of what we can vote and not vote for. And I've got some maybe ideas on what that should be, which I can share with you in a few minutes. So at the moment, what the league have said is that, as it stands, Stevenage will be relegated. However, very cleverly, they gave themselves an out, a big out. And that out was, providing the National League has started its season. And that was the big out. So that's really saying, if football returns to normal on August the 7th, and all the teams above decide to play behind closed doors, because they need to start the season, they will be told, I think, to start the season behind closed doors, and they may get some streaming revenue and all those things we talked about. I think if we put a vote to the National League and said to the National League, we want to start on August the 7th behind closed doors, I think it'd be unanimous. No, none of us can afford to start a season with no revenue and paying tens of thousands of pounds a week out in salaries. So that is the dilemma that the National League have got. When are they going to start? And therefore, I think there's more and more likely that, again, I think I hinted at it, that we may see the league starting in January or December, whenever it's deemed safe to have crowds. And interestingly enough, last night on the daily government update, one of the government scientists, I don't know which one it was, particularly talked about that, about the fact people wanted to go back, and said, look, until we get a vaccine, we can't say it's 100% safe. It's going to be the middle of next year, maybe till we've got a vaccine. Not everybody's going to want to have the vaccine, by the way. Don't assume that everybody's going to feel it's safe. But if you want to take the vaccine, it'll be then. But before then, he's still talking about this 4 to 5 people maximum. So you can't have a football crowd. And I don't think it's viable for us to start. So I think that's where League Two gave itself an out, to say, we're only going to relegate Stevenage if they've got somewhere to play, because it's not fair for them to be relegated then they can't play. Logically, very clever though. So that's the situation. So if that happens, that takes you back to one place available to go into the league, providing, of course, that League One take up 4 teams instead of 3. We don't know. So all those things are still to be decided. I do think we're getting a bit more clarity now. I think it's getting a bit nearer to making a decision. League Two definitely aren't going to play. I think League One are humming and hawing where they're going to play, because I'm sure what's happened is it's now the ball's been thrown back to them and said, okay, well, you can play, guys. I'm only guessing, but you got to fund it. Easier for the Premier League, as I said, because they've got 700 million to fund it with. League One, no, you're going to have to pay for it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think from the National League point of view, I've been, and I've said from day one, that I've been disappointed in the lack of leadership. I've been disappointed in the lack of clarity about lots and lots of things. And this isn't a bitter chairman who might be relegated. I'll come to that in a minute. This is somebody who has tried to engage, who has talked to other chairmen who are equally frustrated, and we've just got a total void at the top of the National League. we're not getting any decision making, we're not getting any clarity, and I think we're just sitting back waiting for everybody else to do something, which is okay to a certain extent, but at the same time you also have to have your own standards and your own idea. It might get knocked back, but at least have some ideas. And I think the sad part about it was that I'm going to talk about the women's game later on, but it's very sad to me that the women's game, in actual fact, this week, were able, in actual fact, I think directed by the FA, so the FA again have some teeth if they have to, if they want to, clearly said to the women's game, look, the season's over, so you can finish and you have 3 options. So the 3 options to them were 1 up, 1 down, so 1 promotion and 1 relegation. Yeah, that's normal. Second option was promotion only, 1 team goes up, no relegation. Third option was null and void. Now, it can't be any clearer than that. And it's sad that that has to be put forward by, and I've got to be careful what I'm saying here, but it's sad that they had to do that. Now, why can we not have that clarity in our league? Because those are the sort of options we should be presented with. And what I'd suggest is that where it changes slightly is I think that in our league, in the National League, I'm not talking about North and South, the options that would be fair would be 2 up, because I believe if that place is available, you know, which we've just talked about, if it's not available, it's going to only be 1 up. We can't dictate 2 up, but if there's 2 places, 2 up, yeah, and 2 down, yeah, 2 up, 2 down. Now, in saying that, I I'm putting my neck on the line, because if that's what everybody votes for, we would be relegated in the current system. So that would be one option. Second option would be promotion only to the Football League, which we couldn't deny to the top 2 teams, if this team, we shouldn't deny. Yeah, so, but nobody down, again, similar to WSL, yeah. Or the third option is a null and void. And if it's null and void can be all the way below us, and null and void can be for the Women's Super League, why can't that option be available to us as well? So in my view, those should be the 3 options that are available. And people have asked me, you know, David, are you going to sue, you know, and I heard that, you know, that you're a litigious guy, and etc., etc. And I'm hearing all these things about, you were telling me just a few minutes ago about lawsuits from these chairmen, and I can tell you right now that if we are given a fair vote, a democratic vote, as I've just suggested, and if everybody in our league votes 2 down, 2 up, and that's the choice, then I will take that on the chin, as much as I don't want to go down. Nobody wants to go down, but you've got to be prepared to act in a democratic way and accept that decision. So if that's the decision, we'll go down, and we'll lick our wounds and come back again, as I said. But we've got to be given the option, and I think that those 3 are fair options on the table, and I wanted to see that kind of leadership from our league. We've had the nonsense, and it is nonsense, of being asked to vote should we finish the season, which we all did, and then having finished the season, then they asked, do we want to have playoffs? Well, it's contradicted to, do you want to finish the season, isn't it, in itself, that question? Because if you finish the season, you finish the season. Not, the question was, do you want to finish the season and then we'll have playoffs? That's not finishing the season, is it? Because really, you could argue very strongly, if you had asked the question, do you want to finish the season and have playoffs? We would have argued, yeah, we'd like to have playoffs at the bottom as well. Because it's just as important to have the playoff to decide who goes down as to decide playoff who goes up. I know that's not a normal situation, but we're not in a normal world. We weren't asked to vote on that. We were asked to vote on finishing the season, so I think it's ludicrous. And then I know for a fact that having got the decision that people didn't want playoffs, the committee right, of which there are a lot of people on that committee, and this is where they're in a dangerous situation. A lot of people on that committee, I won't name them, you can go and look it up yourself, anybody can, have their own self-interest at heart. So what I heard was when they got the result, that a lot of people on the committee said, well, yeah, but if you look at the result, all the people in promotion, they didn't want to cancel it. They want to have playoffs. So we'll ignore, so they say, we'll ignore the democratic vote and we'll just look after because those clubs at the top wanted it and it affects them most. That's not how it works, democracy. That's not how it works. Democracy is 50%, 51% say no means no. A bit like the getting out of Europe, something that was pushed. It was only a couple of percent, wasn't it, difference? But we have to accept that vote. We have to accept the vote. So I've been disappointed in the leadership. I'm still disappointed in the leadership, and I genuinely hope that they will take heed of what they've heard this week, particularly from the WSL, and come out and give us, all of us, the opportunity to vote on those three options in one format or another.
On those topics and what you've mentioned there, I understand you've been talking to some other chairmen across our league about some ideas and forming a group to work through them. Yeah,
again, I think I mentioned it maybe a couple of weeks ago that one of the things about this crisis is that it's made people sit up and think and maybe shake some sense into all of us, about how we run our football clubs and what we do. And that great word that we all use, sustainability, but none of us achieve, has maybe started to resonate a little bit. So it was good this last week. I think I'd again mentioned maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago that I'd heard, from talking to people that a salary cap, they were talking about a salary cap in our league, and I think I said at the time 2.5 million for the League One and 1.25 for League Two, and it was great this week to see that sort of ratified, shall we say, and that's certainly been put out now, I think, by the EFL themselves, driven by the clubs themselves to say yes, we should be moving on forward, and in that statement they said that they want to have this agreed by the 2021 season, next season. So I was really, really pleased to see that. About a week ago, I wrote to every single chairman in our league and invited them to join a working group. Again, I was frustrated because this kind of thing I feel should be coming from our executive. They should be driving this, saying, there's all the technologies there available to have meetings. I've been having meetings with my staff almost every day on Teams or Zoom. I mean, it's easy to do. And so basically I thought, well, what's they say in life, you can watch it happen or you can make it happen. And so I thought, well, let's try and make it happen. So I wrote to all the chairmen. I've had about 5 or 6 replies so far of people who said, yes, we'd like to work together. And part of what we're discussing on that group is to agree a wage cap in our league. I think I mentioned last time we were together, I think that number in my view, and I think definitely if you look at where League Two are, 1.25, then I think our number's got to be around that 750. I heard somebody said, I think it should be 850. I don't think we'll be arguing about much, but if you remember, I told you Leyton Orient were about 1.6, Salford when they went up were about 2.6. That's the kind of money that was being spent, and no one can compete with that. Whereas if we have a salary cap, at least it starts to get some sanity back into the game, and it does make us a lot more skillful it necessitates us being, our managers being more skillful, our whole management structure thinking a lot more about what we do. The other interesting thing that was put forward, which again I know is great support in our league, and it was put forward by Danny Hunter, chairman of Boreham Wood, who incidentally has got not maybe everybody's favourite cup of tea, but he's got some great ideas, as Danny. And one of the things that they sort of picked up on was this, that they were having a 20-man squad. And that was the maximum squad size allowed, a 20-man squad. So again, I very much think that's a great idea. And all the rest would be with youth players and younger players. So it gives them an opportunity to, come through. This is something we're always talking about. And how do we give those young players, young English players, a chance to come through the league? So I'm interested in that concept as well. So I think a basic salary cap, basic squad of 20, it's got to be beneficial for all of us. Got to be. So we've started that, and I hope in the coming weeks that we can get together and start those conversations, and I can share that with you. There's no massive rush at this second, because of course what everybody's concerned about, and whenever you talk to anybody, they're all about what's happening with the league. Again, going back what I said 10-15 minutes ago, first of all, we need clarity of what's happening. We need clarity when the league's going to start, because we need to know when we can start signing players. We need to know when we can do our renovation on our pitches and things like that. And that's something I said that's lacking. So anyway, we started the process, and I was glad to see there were 6 or 7 people who were interested to start that working committee. We don't really need more than that. So I hope I can update you in the coming episodes, Adam.
Thanks for your thoughts.
Okay.